Good afternoon, I'm Tom Proietti, and I'm here with Dr. Donald Bain, the president of St. John Fisher College. I have a fancy title here that Don was part of the process of giving me, that resident scholar in media. Never thought I'd be returning to St. John Fisher with such a fancy title, but I have to admit, coming home, as you promised me it would be, has been, well, these have been two of the best years of my life. And first off, welcome. Good to have you back again.
Good to be here.
And the second part of this, the way I wanted to start this is, and keep it as conversational as possible, is something you and I share, is driving onto the Fisher campus. Now, I've been driving here since 1963, September of 1963, so I've had a chance to see a lot of changes. I drove onto the Fisher campus the first time there was Carney Hall, and that was pretty much it, and one maintenance building. And then by 1975, when you showed up, Fisher had changed quite a bit, but today, when someone drives onto the Fisher campus, what do you see? What's the impression that you get?
Well, the big difference was, you came out in '63, you were driving. When I came out in '75, I was in a child restraint baby seat. So
that's good. Touche. You might have been in the back of my car.
Lots changed, as you know, and as you've lived through too. Let me just back up to the very first thing you said. I want to make sure that I repeat and emphasize how grateful I am and the college is to your coming home. I meant that literally when we had this first interview. I've said it to you personally. I've written it to you. But I think it's just great. And I hope you're here right through as long as you're willing, as long as Don is going to put up with it, because I think you're just so much a part of this institution, its past and its history. And plus, you're a great friend. So
you're a great friend as well. I promise to stay involved in this institution as long as I'm breathing. And you know that.
I got the promise.
You just put that.
I got a couple thousand witnesses there, and I'll make sure it happens. So, anyway, a lot of changes, physical. I suppose the first thing you notice when you come in is the signature building of the college, which is to your right as you come in the main entrance, which is Carney Hall. And that was the first building that went up here. For many years, it was the only building.
1948, it was first.
Yeah, that's when we started. I think the groundbreaking, I think it took 2.5 years actually to get the structure up. And you'd be surprised at the number of graduates from those early classes who remember when it was the only building.
Yeah.
The library was up on the 4th floor. There's still remnants of it there. Some of the old doors on the 3rd and 4th floor still have the original doors and the numbers on them. There's one up at the 4th floor that says library.
Right, still says library.
And of course, the 4th floor is where the dorms were, such as they were. Priests lived up there. But from 75 forward, when I got here in 75, Father Lavery hired me, Father Dorsey, Father Pupor. When they hired me, there was the science building, the varsity gym.
Right.
SLC wasn't here yet. The library had just opened, 74. Malcolm Wilson, who was pinch hitting for Rockefeller, who was now in 74, the vice president after the imbroglio with Nixon and his resignation is over. Library was there. It was the newest building. Warden Haffey. There was the old House of Studies, and then across the street, Beckett. So that was pretty much the configuration. Right through what we now think of as the main quadrangle in front of Lavery Library, with the pharmacy school on one side, Basel on the other, the back part of the pharmacy building, Wegman School of Pharmacy, Lavery Library, and then the Bausch and Laum entrance with the colonnade into the Haffian Ward. That was actually, in 1974, was a parking lot.
Yes, it was.
A good part of that was
a very good parking lot.
Very good. Everything was pretty convenient, I'll tell you. You didn't have far to go in a blizzard. That went probably in early 75, but a road continued through there. And you said to sort of personalize this a little bit, so I will. So my first office I shared with another professor, and I could look out on what we always call Lavery Library. I could see the library and I looked out on it. And I remember how monstrous I thought it was to have a road cutting through an area where students should be able to, throw a frisbee or take a nap or do whatever kids do on a nice day. But that certainly was a significant part. There were the Also further down, right behind or close to behind where the pharmacy school is now, remember there were the ponds?
Yes, the ponds
And
were
the
there.
ducks would be there doing what ducks inevitably do. And,
And every once in a while, the seniors would throw fish in there.
throw fish.
Yes, they would, as a prank.
And then they throw detergent
The
soap.
detergent.
Which would foam over.
Right.
Pretty innocent by comparison. When you
Good
think
stuff.
It
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So what we've seen grow is a college in 75 at least, 38 years ago, that had probably at that time, I'm thinking 18 majors, virtually no graduate programs whatsoever. We still had a Basilian priest as the president, Father Lavery. I don't know, there were vice presidents. The chief academic officer was called the dean of the college. Sort of an old-fashioned term, but which I think fit very well. We had a lot more Basilians on campus.
Yes, we did.
We probably had just a shade under 1,000 students. Really very modest part-time enrollment. And overall, there was still very much the legacy of being an all-male college. Don't forget, we didn't go co-ed until 72.
Right. And it was a strong legacy and kind of a hangover of being a male Catholic college.
Male Catholic.
Largely for students from Aquinas and McQuaid.
Right. As a matter of fact, all across the Midwest and Northeast, including Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Albany, the tradition had been through the late 19th into the 20th century, a Catholic men's college and a Catholic women's college. At least one of each in each of those cities as you go back and forth. Siena, College of St. Rose in Albany and so forth.
Yeah, we even have one of those up the road. I don't remember the name of it, but what's it called again?
Nazareth?
Nazareth, that's what it is, Howard. I'm just joking.
Back then, of course, the classic was a Nazareth woman would marry a Fisher man.
Yeah.
And in my travels, meeting alums.
Oh, you must hear some good stories about those.
Oh, I do. And not only that, but a number of couples, some of them retired, some still active in their professions, business, talk about, walking down to Nazareth to see their beau, or coming up here for, for an event. Anyway, women were a very rapidly growing part of the undergraduate student body, but that's all we had was undergraduate student body. The dorms were pretty Spartan. The opportunity for entertainment came more for people who amused themselves on Friday night during the winter. They didn't want to go out somewhere.
Or over to East Rochester.
That usually involved a six-pack, or if they could make it, Checo's in East Rochester. East Rochester. The drinking age, I have to remind everybody, was 18 back then. So that made things a little bit easier.
There were some people who used to say the drinking age was if you could reach the bar, and had money in your hand and could articulate ordering a drink, you probably could be served.
It's a pretty good test when you think about it. But, back then.
I grew up in a restaurant family, and that was
I know.
a lot of that was said in my family as well.
So. Both the pleasures and facilities were pretty simple. I think you heard me say before, we had a club football team towards the late 70s. And,
in fact, I was one of the assistant coaches for Bob Bayer for a couple of years.
I just saw Bob Bayer last week. We had a board meeting in Florida.
One of my favorites.
He and his wife, Bonnie. Yep. But we'd come with our children, who were young then, and watch the club football, roughly where the parking lot is near the Student Life Center now. And on cold autumn nights when it would get dark early, those of us who'd be there watching the game would put our headlights on in the car to illuminate. And there are people who remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
There are people who actually remember that.
That's how we kept practices going, was through headlights.
Yeah. And what I find useful and amusing about that kind of nostalgia is, among other things, how it helps me connect with alums of that era. There's no question about it. A pretty significant part of my job as president has been to raise money. And while I credit the recent success of our $50 million campaign to all the wonderful people around me who made it happen.
Congratulations to you, because you worked it very, very hard.
Incredible that we were able to be as successful during this this economic recession as we were. As I said, all the credit goes to these people who set things up. But what helps, of course, is when you have that sense of connection with the past, and people respond very much to that. And when I can talk about the club football, or when there were just a few buildings on campus, a lot of those alums appreciate it. And it's not just nostalgia, it's sort of a measure of how we've all grown, how we've all evolved and developed. And, you know, I think looking back sometimes can be healthy. It gives a perspective.
Yeah, in fact, one of the ones I want to look back just for a moment, because I saw him last summer, and he and I played a round of golf together. It's a guy named Bobby Wanzer, NBA Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
And you and I were both professors here when Bobby had, his players in our classes. He was the athletic director for a while, and then he kind of concentrated on basketball. But I was always impressed at how much emphasis Bob put on academics.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about that? Because that still continues. That's part of the Fisher
Well,
tradition.
we talk about student athletes.
Yeah.
And Coach Ward, athletic director, is certainly committed to that. I know he believes it. He lives it. Bobby Wanzer did too. And, you know, Bobby's reputation, of course, as a professional basketball player was terrific. A wonderful man, just a prince of a guy. Literally loved by all those young men who played for him in those early days. And he'd have a reward system if they went somewhere and they won. So on the way home in a bus back to Rochester, they'd stop somewhere. He'd get a couple cases of beer. Everybody celebrate on the drive home, except the driver. If they lost,
nothing.
No pit stops, nothing. They were straight home.
Nothing.
Well, good thing he had a wonderful track record.
Yes, he did.
So in addition, some of the other sort of recreation, and it was very Spartan, but there was the campus club, which was in the lower level. I don't know if I mentioned this last time or not.
No, you did not.
I remember beer was 25 cents for a 12-ounce plastic glass.
And why would you know that?
Well, because I drank a number of them. Everybody smoked and used the corporal's ashtray, which was the floor.
Right.
That's what Stefan Baczynski used to call it.
The corporal's ashtray.
So when they weren't at Checo's, they were there, and sometimes they might have a little student band or some people who volunteered, you know, impromptu.
I remember doing stand-up comedy a couple times.
Absolutely.
Dennis O'Brien and
absolutely.
and Bob DiMaria. And
Bob DiMaria.
I'm trying to remember Lou Bettino.
Louis.
I think Louis tried a night of.
Louis
and I remember thinking after doing my first stand-up comedy bit as a professor in front of most of my students and colleagues, that it was not easy.
That's
it was
tough.
very, very difficult. I thought I had a lot of material prepared. I had about 5 minutes of material prepared, and after the 5 minutes was gone, which seemed like it went away in 30 seconds,
nothing left.
There was nothing left. And I said, bring on the guitarist who came on quickly and saved my life. So.
Well, there was quite a repertoire of talent there. And as the night went on, the talent seemed to...
the talent waned, but the acceptance levels got much broader. So.
Absolutely.
But the campus club we had to get rid of it because the drinking age went up and there were questions of liability and a whole slew of things.
Which I think was about 82 or 83, 1982 or 83. So, but that as a measure and sort of artifact of the college evolution, growth, and development really paralleled what was going on nationally, because people seemed to need less and had less. And somehow, maybe, I don't know if they studied harder or what they did with their time, but they filled it. They filled it. And maybe they played more cards or Monopoly or something. But as the college grew and student requirements and expectations expanded to remain competitive and attractive and engaging, we had to do that also. Right. So some of the core energy of the growth of the institution is shaped around student tastes, student expectations. Right. I mean, I don't know about you, but you know, when I was a kid, it was very common for people in my family, you know, kids to, 3, 4 guys, young men or brothers to a room or something, bunk beds all over the place.
Absolutely.
You know, one bathroom.
3 in a room for us and one bathroom, right?
students today expect a little bit more than that. You have to keep up. Plasma TVs, all sorts of games. It's certainly a social media world, and they expect that. Not to mention the use of those instruments in the education process, which is critical. We recognize that. So the types of both pastime, amusement, and then more serious academic work and class presentations and homework study and so forth have changed, and I think we've evolved with that. We've had
and I think one of the great things that happened to me when I was here, and the time I was here as a staff member and a faculty member, was the great support for technology. I think Fisher has been on the cutting edge for years. I think there was a time in the late 80s, early 90s when that waned a little bit. And that was a time when I realized you, my good friend, were emerging to become part of the leadership of Fisher. And when did you have your first visions of Don Bain as possibly the president of the college?
That's hard to say. It never was a plan, that's for sure.
I know it wasn't, yeah. I know. I used to joke with you and say, the worst possible job in the world would be either mayor of New York City or president of a small private college, trying to struggle with numbers and budgets and a whole slew of other issues.
I'm not sure. I guess when it first occurred to me was when I became provost. And God bless her, Catherine Keogh was very, very supportive of me. I learned a lot from watching her. I knew some people who were presidents that were very instructive, good role models. And as her health failed, and she gave me increasing amounts of responsibility, I got a little bit better taste of the manifold complexities and the number of constituencies to which one is responsible, and what issues in the, say, 5, as I sort of reorganize them, the 5 operating divisions of the college were. And so I got a little sense of what the machinery was and how it linked together. And what I needed to figure out was how to bring that to the service of what had always been my priority as a professor. That was our students.
Yes.
So, little by little, school of hard knocks sometimes sheer luck. Right. Others as a result of the wisdom and skill of the wonderful people around me. I was able to increasingly form a theory of what leadership meant in a college environment, and dealing with at least 8 to 10 different types of groups, students, faculty, staff, trustees, alumni, certainly the Bazonian community, the Catholic community in Rochester, public officials, private enterprise where many of our students would go and look for jobs, our neighbors, physically our neighbors. That's 10 off the top of my head.
Just off the top of your head.
That's the short list.
And I'm sure you still see a representative of each one of them at least once a week.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's part of the job.
And one of the things you have done, and I have to give you a lot of credit for this on camera especially, is you are accessible. I mean, the fact that you even come over here, you and I were able to arrange this in 2 emails. And
you were in London, I think.
Yes, I was. With the first
I think I was in Florida.
Yeah.
On business as well.
And I think that's really important that you do remain accessible, and you know that. You know how important the accessibility is at St. John Fisher. One of the things I see here, and this is not a knock on MCC, but one of the things I fell in love with, again, coming back to St. John Fisher, was seeing the number of faculty members sitting in their offices working with students. Not that I didn't see that at MCC, but at St. John Fisher I see a lot more of it taking place. And I think that's truly a gift of the institution. It's part of the institutional culture.
Well, I think it's also something that is infectious. And the more people who are good-natured, committed to the mission, truly appreciate and have respect for our students and one another,
right,
it reinforces itself.
Right, and it's so important to have that. You did a lot of this. I used to watch you as a professor, and you did an awful lot of.
I had a lot of fun.
And you still do, but it was an awful lot of one-on-one. And I think some of the best moments in students' lives, and some of the best moments in our teachers' lives, take place. In those one-on-one situations where you see the light bulbs go off, and
helping a student sort out what their personal philosophies are, their professional goals, life dreams, and then helping them. Maybe pointing a little bit to directions that would help them reconcile some of those things,
right.
understand them, and then, most importantly, being able to act on them.
Yeah.
We live in the world of the mind in a college or university.
And yet we we live in the world of the mind, yet we also still have an awful lot of people. It's still probably the #1 expense on campus. And we have a huge physical plant. And that's one of the things that I keep going back to is every time I drive onto campus, I don't recognize this place. And I'm so proud of the way it's evolved and happened because it's actually more beautiful than it was 35, 40 years ago. What's the place going to look like? Let's say 5 years from now, you're no longer president of the college. Maybe you're in a chancellor's position or whatever it is you choose to do. And Don Bain drives on here in the year 2018. What do you think we're going to see? What's the visitor going to see to this campus?
Well, I hope they see more buildings, more programs, more progress. I hope they see students who are filled with the energy and hope that students I've known here for 38 years possess. I hope they see faculty who are committed, who are here because they love their jobs and enjoy immensely what they're doing. I hope they see some more buildings.
Yeah, when you say more buildings, what do you envision? I know we have this beautiful. Well, I'll let you talk about Victor's gift to us.
Oh, it's just incredible. Vic Salerno, Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees.
And a very good friend of mine, by the way.
Great guy. Class of 1966, right. Fisher class in accounting. And he's been with O'Connell Electric, he's president and CEO. He's been with them for probably nearly since he graduated.
Yeah, I think since day one.
He and I became friends quite a while ago, and he wanted to do something for the college. And it was one of those remarkable and, to me, extremely precious circumstances where he truly and sincerely felt gratitude for what the college had done to help him launch his life. Tom, I hear that over and over again when I travel. Now, this is self-selected.
You did it for me.
This
institution did it for me. It did it for you.
People who come to my receptions when I have them in New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, the usual circuit, down in Florida, last week, Atlanta, Palm Beach, and Naples. They have an affection for the college to start with, so that's the group I'm dealing with. But people like Vic Salerno and his wife, Eileen,
they're amazing,
who was just very supportive of his decision, have, I think, a long view that the college really was a catalyst in propelling them not only to personal satisfaction of a wonderful family, which they enjoy, but also professional success that allowed him to give a very, very substantial 7-figure gift to build the Salerno Center for American Enterprise. And of course, that just across the way here is going up. What another really monument to the affection, the gratitude of an alum. And to me, the statement there, and I can say this about every one of the 9 or 10 buildings that have gone up, at least during my watch, it's a statement of the individual's belief in our past and what we've done, and confidence in our future.
That's a wonderful way. That's just a beautiful way to say it.
You know, to
and
me,
what's next? I mean, we have this building for American Enterprise. What's next? I mean, one of the questions that's constantly asked, and I know you get asked all the time, and because it made the press for a while, and is the law school.
Well, the law school had a strong start, and it's still out there as a possibility. As a matter of fact, I think every president should have a transformational addition to the institution he or she has been selected to lead, and that came early in my tenure with the wonderful, loving generosity of Bob Wegman and the pharmacy school, and then within a year, the nursing school.
Yes.
Just gorgeous buildings that have served this community so immensely, and with such highly qualified people managing, running, working there, and then producing similarly highly qualified professionals. That was a great start for a rookie.
You did okay, as a rookie.
So that, I think that's, and we've since done a lot of other things, some of the doctoral programs, and a lot of new innovative things, online education, really paying attention to our technology and our Office of Information Technology, in addition to the food service. Our athletics, just to begin answering your question more pointedly. We really have not refurbished our athletic interior facilities in several years. Now, we put up Brownie Stadium, which is fantastic.
Beautiful.
The Policini, wonderful gift to build
Fantastic.
the Policini track and field, tremendous. But really, the varsity gym goes back to probably when you were here.
It was there when I was here?
Yeah.
I think it opened the year I came.
And the Student Life Center opened, I think it was around 78.
About 78, right.
It was 78. Brownie Stadium, wonderful facilities, Keating Terrace, donation from one of our grads, Marty Keating, class of 75. Now, the Policini track and field. The new facilities building over there, which finally, did you see those pictures?
It's gorgeous.
Did you see those pictures?
They're spectacular.
They had me on one of the backhoes knocking those tin buildings
You're
down.
good. I didn't know you were only a college president. You could be working for Krista Construction.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of? There's a great scene in Moby Dick where Ahab is on the whale, and he's obsessed with this. Like I was obsessed with those tin buildings, which Father Lavery put in 77.
That's right.
My new office as an assistant professor faced them. Not to worry, Donald. They'll only be there 2 or 3 years.
They're still there.
2013, and
We finally got them down.
got him down. The boys got me up in the backhoe. They gave me a sledgehammer, which I took a whack at. Honestly, the analogy might not be lost. There's a scene in Moby Dick where Ahab, obsessed with this whale, somehow gets tangled up in him, and he's stabbing the whale. You damned fish, he's saying. You know? That's how I felt when I was whacking those tin buildings with the, you damned things. They were so awful, and the men and women who worked in them, literally, I mean, they had tarps to prevent the, I said, we have to do something. And it was just by a wonderful coincidence that we found the resources and able to buy a little land over there from the state, which was landlocked anyway, and put the facility building up there. But now I think we need to look inside some of those buildings, and in particular, where some of the coaches and the players work. And we need to refurbish that. We're very, as you know, very keen on where we started this, student athletes, but they deserve an upgrade to what we're doing there. So that's one area. And I've begun that. We've budgeted for it in the fiscal 14 budget. We have plans how to redo some of the offices, some of the recreational areas for non-competitive sport use, but also competitive sport. Work closely with the AD and some designers who know how to put those things together. So the student demands both in terms of competitive sports, varsity sports, but also recreational, physical fitness and so forth. We got to do it, and we're going to do it. And we budgeted it, and it's going to happen. So that's one area of growth.
Well, Don, I think we're probably just about at time. We could go on forever, but
Let me finish.
Throw one more thing in.
I'm going to finish this because it's important. The biggest single thing is, as you know, we've been very, very successful with our nursing program, our pharmacy program, basically health sciences. The men and women who are being credentialed as a result of taking certifying tests to come out of these schools is just fantastic.
It is,
I mean,
absolutely.
Really, literally a national level of achievement in the qualifying standardized national test. So one of the things occurred to me, and an awful lot of people with whom I discussed it, we haven't really had a serious strategic upgrading of our undergraduate natural science facilities in several years. So I put together this thing called Building for the Future. And one of the things it includes, and this is yet another building, by the way.
Wow.
If you can picture looking from the Skalny Welcome Center
Right.
across the parking lot where the Science Center is.
Wow.
we're going to rebuild that with, I think it's probably close to a 40,000 square foot science center. And it's going to be devoted to the natural sciences, to wit, biology, chemistry. I've got the plans, drop dead gorgeous architecturally, and that'll be right next to the Wegmans School of Pharmacy, if you can picture just to the left, that whole area from the left side of the Wegman building all the way over to that hill. That's going to be the new science complex, and that will provide, I think, a incredibly strong undergraduate component up to the point where all of our natural science programs are going to be enriched as a result of this, all cutting edge, state of the art, which will then support even further our pharmacy, our nursing, and potentially future programmatic development in the healthcare and sciences. So that's one, building for the future project. Now, what I also did, we had a retreat with the board down in Florida, not this past week, but the week before. I want to make sure people, you talked about looking ahead to 2018, we had the Vision 2020, which was the campaign, and we did wonderfully well, very blessed with that. But what I wanted the board to think about was not only where in 7 quick years we'll be at 2020, but I said, let's look over the horizon. And the retreat was devoted to where will we be in 2030. Excellent. It's not as insane as it seems to be talking about 2030.
You and I may not be here, but a lot of the key players and a lot of people coming from this community and other communities.
We're so blessed now by people who 5, 10, 20 years ago, some of them anyway, were thinking about what the future will. Right. And that's what I wanted to do. And the central question is, and I'll sort of end where we began, but the central question is, what will our student needs be in 2020, 2025, and 2030, over that horizon? What can we do to anticipate the academic, intellectual, scholarly preparation that our students are going to need to succeed? Because we're still devoted, and this is something that hasn't changed. This will be my Mariano Rivera closer. Something hasn't changed. We still operate in that marvelous tradition, those virtues of the Basilian Fathers, goodness, discipline, and knowledge, to which I've added my own little postscript, really, which is to help men and women build lives, create careers, and then serve the community. And it's incumbent on us as stewards of this institution to help, at least to try, to anticipate what those needs of our students might be. And that requires speculation. It requires some very hard-nosed study and clinical analysis. It involves some good guesses. It involves looking where we've been as a prologue to where we can go with the right courage and leadership and luck and blessings.
It involves one other thing, too, and that's vision, which is something you really truly have, my friend, and I thank you for that, and thank you for coming again. And
my pleasure.
I think we're going to have to do a third one.
Oh, boy.
Thanks, Tom.
God bless. Thank you.